Hey YouTube, I'm back. It's been a while. I know I had a couple friends asking me when you gonna do a new video. Yeah, about that. I do apologize. One of the problems with starting a YouTube channel in medical school is that it's medical school. As towards the end of the semester, we got caught up in a lot of exams and preparation. But God is good. Still here, still pushing forward. So yeah, my apologies. I do thank you for still being here. You haven't given up yet, so I thank you. So let's dive into today's topic. There is a season for everything. Oftentimes, whether we're new Christians or we've been in this walk for a while, we often hit a point where like, this just can't happen to me. Everything is supposed to be smooth sailing. Or, you feel like you put in everything that you can, and it may not have yielded the result that you want. And we ask a lot of questions, and we often doubt ourselves. Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, am I supposed to be here? And my answer to that is there is a season for everything. So we're going to dive into that just a little bit. So let's get started. We're going to go ahead and start with the basics, just break down what is a season. If there's a season for everything, we want to be on the same page of what is a season. When we look at the dictionary, the Merriam-Webster definition, it gives us a few different definitions for that word. So we're just going to go through a couple of them and just get a good generalized idea. So one of the first definitions for a season is a time characterized by a particular circumstance or feature, a suitable or natural time or occasion, an indefinite period of time. Now, just within that definition alone, I know that definition gives me hope. A season is not, number one, permanent. It is not forever. You do not experience summer forever. You do not experience daytime forever. There is always a switch. There is always something else. So whatever you're going through now, whether it is, something that's just weighing really heavy on you, you're really stressed out, feel like you're not progressing, you're not moving forward, I just want to encourage you to understand that even in just the natural sense, we don't go through the same thing forever. A season is not forever. It is an occasion. It's marked by a particular circumstance. So maybe you feel like you haven't reached your potential. Maybe you feel like you haven't reached a particular mark. Maybe you feel like you just haven't reached that point in your life that you're looking forward to. Just hold fast. Your time will come. The season, every person has a season. And just like the natural seasons, they often can repeat. Just because you're going through it now doesn't mean you may never go through something similar again. So I just want to encourage you guys. Another definition that I think is really profound is it says a period of the year characterized or associated with a particular activity or phenomenon, such as 1. A period associated with some phase or activity of, it says agriculture, and some of the examples are growing and harvesting. So there's a time, biblically there's a time, and naturally, to sow seed. There's a time where you water and you cultivate your fields. There is a time where those seeds will grow, and there's a time where you are going to reap the fruit of that harvest. None of these happen simultaneously. There's a time for each one of them. So if you have planted your seeds, again, hold fast. You're in your season of planting. If you've already planted, and now that means you have to cultivate it. Now you're in that journey where you're spending more time and you're making sure that the soil and everything around it is in conditions for those seeds to grow. Now, you've done all that, then there is going to come a time where you're going to see those seeds grow and blossom. And then there's going to come a time where those blossoms are going to yield a fruit for you to be able to harvest. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes we separate natural from spiritual and think that they are completely isolated when we are living examples that they coexist at the same time. So keep that in mind. So we have a period associated with some type of phase or activity. We have a period in which an animal says engages in some activity. So two examples were migrating and mating. There's a time that you're going to have to stand still and be planted in where you are. And there's going to be times where you're going to have to move in order to start that next journey. So keep that in mind. You're not meant to be where you are forever. You may think that you've reached, but the God that we serve wants to continually take you higher. So there's going to be a time where you're going to have to move, and it may feel uncomfortable, but it's necessary. We also have a period normally characterized by a particular kind of weather. I love this. We often go through storms, but just like seasons, storms don't last always. Even if you're in the midst of a hurricane, you'll encounter winds, and then you'll encounter calm, you'll encounter rain, you'll encounter darkness, and you will encounter the sunshine after it all has passed. Let's keep that in mind. Let's encourage ourselves to remember that this is temporary, that we're going to sometimes have rain, and it may seem like for a while we're going to have those gray and cloudy days. We may have that snow where we just feel like we can't move 2 feet in front of us. Some days it's going to be hot, and you're going to feel like, that there's nowhere to turn, that the pressure's really on you, but it's okay. It's okay. They, just as our different storms of our life pass, where you are now, that too shall pass. And then we have also a period marked by a special activity, especially in some field. Maybe for you that means a promotion. But again, we have to hold fast in trusting that we are in our season for a reason. So these are just the basic natural definitions of what a season is. But now we got to go to the Bible and see what God says about seasons. So a lot of us are familiar with Ecclesiastes 3, often verses 1 through 9 or 1 through 22 that really break down, there's a time for sowing and a time for reaping, there's a time for crying, a time for gladness. It breaks down, there's a time for everything. But let's go to some other scriptures that tell us a little bit more about seasons, starting back in Genesis. So Genesis 8:22, and the context for this scripture, this scripture was given right after the Great Flood, right after God flooded the earth, and then the waters receded, and Noah and his family were able to leave the ark. And we go to chapter 8, verse 22, which says, "As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." So that is just reaffirming the natural that says we are always going to be going through changes. We are always going to be going through types of extreme in our life. There's going to be a time where we are wanting something, whether it's financial security, whether it's confirmation that we've made that decision, whether it's some type of advancement, whether it is with relationships, whatever it may be, there's going to be a time where we're wanting. And then there's going to be a time where we are in abundance, whether we're in abundance of joy and peace or finances, whatever your abundance may be, there will be a time for that. But even in the Bible, it confirms that we will have both. We will have good times and we will have bad times. But God, why do I have to go through this? God, I've been faithful. I haven't messed up. Well, we've all been born sinners. We sin. None of us are perfect. If you were perfect, you'd be Jesus. So we strive for perfection, but we're not there yet. So why do we go through these seasons? When we look at Acts chapter 1, verse 7, the context for this scripture, this is right after Jesus is with his disciples, and the disciples ask him, will he restore Israel? And he responds by saying, "It is not for you to know the times or dates the Father has set by his own authority. You are going to go through seasons. It's promised. You are not going to know the start and the end of each season. That is not guaranteed. He is not going to say, all right, August 1st is when you're going to start your season of just trials and tribulations and stress, and then it's going to end on December 1st. I wish. But no, and it's for our good that we don't know, because sometimes when we know too much, we mess ourselves up. We just open doors that should have just remained closed. God has it all in control. But it is in his timing, not ours. And then we also see in Daniel chapter 2, verse 21, this scripture was taken right around when Daniel was called to interpret the king's dream. Well, first of all, the king was going to kill all the wise men because nobody could interpret his dream for them. He had asked like all the astronomers and the warlord, whatever. He had asked all of them to interpret the dream or risk dying. And they all said, "Oh no one is possible of doing that. It's not possible what you're asking. You're asking me to know what your dream is without you telling me what your dream is and be able to interpret it." So he said a decree. He was going to go ahead and kill all the wise men, and Daniel heard of this, really prayed about it, and asked God to reveal to him the king's dream, and God did just that. So after God revealed the dream and the interpretation of the dream, he praises God for revealing it and says that the changes, times, and seasons,